Hey YouTubers, it's Steve again, coming from Rescape, my YouTube channel that seeks to aid and benefit people by helping them understand or alter their fundamental perception of reality in safe ways, and then how that can benefit them and people around them in their life, and on and on. And today I'm going to be doing a video. I think I'm going to title it Identity. I'm not really sure how to go about doing this. It's going to overlap with some videos I've done before. The Law of Two, if you watch my alignment videos, the alignment video talking about how only you know who you are, more on manifestation, and then and again on wholeness. Seems to always be coming back to wholeness. But okay, so this is what you have to know about identity. The reason your identity is important is because whole people have an identity, but they're not defined by their identity. They are who they choose to be because their actual identity is undefinable. It's sort of like one of the reasons that God's hard to define is because he purposely makes himself undefinable as part of his nature. And so when you become a whole person, or you understand you're a child of God, what ends up happening, children of God, as they grow into themselves, will become more and more of loving people or compassionate people or more childlike people. To be a child of God is to be eternally a child, because the nature of the present moment and who God is that he's continually renewing the universe and things. So if you're being renewed as a child, you don't grow old. So you get to the never never land thing. I think is largely influenced what heaven would be like if people don't grow up. Everyone's a child for eternity. But when you're a child of God, that's who you come across as a loving person. But that's not inwards. The identity of yourself is empty. It's like hollow. There's nothing there. It's air. It's undefinable. And that is the characteristic of God. He's dispersed into all directions. It's like you can't confine him or define him. You can't go anywhere and find him. And people don't understand this, because it's like, well, how does that turn into a loving person? And the reason that becomes a loving person is because in the Law of Two, it's like you focus on other people and what they want. The reason that children of God can do this is because it's not in their nature to focus on themselves. If you were to ask a child of God or a whole person about themselves, or to focus on themselves, they'll do it for a while, but eventually they're going to want to turn it back on you. And the reason is because it's hard for them to understand, it's hard for them to find themselves, because they start taking on this godlike nature where it's hollow because they're not there. Their mind's not on themselves. Their mind's on other people. So that gets back to the Law of Two, and only you know who you are. One of the things this world tries to do is put labels on you, like I am such and such as a profession, or if you go into the military or you're a police officer, and oh, I'm, you take on, I'm a police officer, you go to I am a college graduate. I mean, most professionals, if they lost their ability to practice a profession, would have an identity crisis, and it's designed to be that way. But that's not. As you come more and more in alignment with truth, what you find out is that your identity is much more ephemeral, and in that way, you have the freedom to become what you want, not to be trapped in that. Because then you can come back out of it and then be something else. And it's very uncomfortable, because then the question is well, who am I? Who am I? And the answer is, it's you decide. I mean, you could say God decides, but God then goes around and is well, who do you want to be? And a lot of things, when you start following God, and he makes things very open-ended, and there's no boundaries, and there's no judgments, and there's no way to go to extremes, and then it's well, what the hell am I doing or supposed to be doing? It's well, what do you want to do? And so a large part of becoming whole is becoming comfortable in that state where there aren't boundaries, and then it becomes not just what you want, but the degree you want, and then you're not limiting yourself even to that. And we all seek to be in places where there's well, you think we wouldn't like rules, but really we do, because then they give us a point of reference where we can be one of the first things you do when you hear someone say something like an expert, you want to know their credentials so you know what they're talking about, and it becomes really irrelevant whether or not what they're saying is true. They could be highly credentialed, and people will look up to them. They could be spouting bullshit, which is usually the case. And then there's people that really know truth and really speak it, and people don't listen to them because they don't know that the person what they're doing, because people won't take the time to be of their own authority say, well, this person, I know what they're saying is true. What else are they saying that I don't know about? So back to identity. one of the big things when you manifest life, like we go to school to get skill sets and knowledge, and we have, like, people are talented at different things, like, you might be good at math, or you might be an athlete and things like that. And so these open doors for us, but what really opens doors for you is your identity, what you want and how that defines you, how you choose to come across that way. It's very subconscious, very spiritual, and everybody does it. And most people don't like who they are, but they don't know how to change. But I mean, if you think back to like every major event in your life, all of your friends, your job, like what you choose to do, all these different things, they could have, they could have been something else. They all could have been something else, but it usually comes down to a conversation. Like you have a conversation, you're in a job interview, or you're flirting with the girl that you just met, or just something, and she ends up becoming your wife, and then you have grandkids, 59 years old. Now there's like a clan of people that exist because of one conversation. And we don't think like this, because as this starts to take place, we don't go all the way back out into our minds and be like, oh yeah, I kind of started like that. We're like, you and your best friend, if you guys hadn't met, like your whole lives would have been different. So, but these connections, these little seemingly random connections, they're there because of when you talk with someone and they talk with you, and you have that, like, you can pick that resonance up in each other, and that wouldn't be there unless you had the identity planted beforehand. So what's important to know is that when you have the hollow self, or you become the person where you don't consider yourself and you consider other people, there's in Tai Chi, there's a quality called Pung, and Pung is just when you're relaxed and things just kind of bounce off of you. It's sort of an expansion, like a bouncy expansion state. And I need to do more videos on Tai Chi, but when people don't like you and you have the identity, the hollow identity, it doesn't do anything to you, because you're so lovingly towards them that when they don't like you, you're already responding to their dislike to try to love them more. And it doesn't even get close to you. Like, if you're neutral towards them, you can kind of consider the fact they don't like you, and that can bother you. But if you're loving them, then their dislike just goes right back towards them. You're like, well, what can I do to this person, to help them even more? And you don't even consider yourself. You can't. You're focused on other people. And that gets back to law 2. I don't know if I said everything I want to say for this video, but basically, identity is really important. It's very choosable. When you're a child of God, you choose your identity, and at the same time, God's already chosen your identity, and that's a paradox, I know, but that's really how He creates people to want the identity He's already given them, and He allows them to explore that. So there's that. And half of understanding truth and reality is understanding who you are, and they're not separate. They're not, and that's how you manifest the reality you want. It's not based off skill set or intelligence or anything like that, or knowledge or anything like that. It's literally, it's social skills. If you want to take it down to the most fundamental level, like how most people would see it come across, it's your ability to socialize with other people. Because if you want something, 9 times out of 10, someone else has that something, they need to give it to you. And if you don't come across as a person they want to give that to, the job promotion, or the funding, or whatever, the girl that you like, or whatever, if you don't have that in you for them to see that, to take you to that level, it's not going to happen. You can't do that on your own. Like, you can go be a hermit all you want, and you'll have the trees in the sky, and that's all nice, but that's a very limited manifestation. Like you can manifest inwardly and then like astrally project and things like that, but if you want to change your external environment, 9 times out of 10, 99 out of 100, or 999 out of 1,000, it's going to be you having conversations with other people, and you have to be able to do that. So another reason to be a child of God and to become a whole person, and what that entails. People cannot affect you when you're a whole person. It goes back to know who you are. Even at some stage, it doesn't even matter who you are. Like, people, eventually you'll hear like the ancients talk about like people saying I am, like who are you? It's like I am, because that's all you can say about yourself, because you encompass every possibility. It's like you are no longer I am this or I am that. It's just I am, because at that point anything can be applied to you. All things are possible in that state. So anyway, okay, I hope this made sense. Identity is important. If you have any questions, post in the comments. Oh, God, what week is this? I'm going to say week 8. I'm just going to stop saying what week it is. But anyway, this is Rescape. You guys have a good evening. Happy Halloween.